Jesus.
And the taillights were kind of similar, but it was like they took it and then they shrunk it all the way down. Not really quite the expectation versus reality we wanted. However, there are some concept cars like the BMW i8 that got very close to the visual reference of the concept car, but it's, you know, it's not everybody's favorite looking car, and I don't know how well it's aged, by the way. How do you guys think the i8 is aged? Put it down in the comment section below. Concept cars are essentially the practice round for designers, for the big leagues, to see if ideas are really even feasible or practical, or could they even be put in production through a plant. Could you get the logistics of the materials and the design language and the UI? All these things that are very important. But typically, like I said, they're practice rounds. They usually don't really go anywhere after the lesson has been learned. If you'd like to support this channel, by the way, real quick, head over to PattersonCarGear.com. We're having a 35% blowout sale at the end of summer using or so. Even with things like the Ioniq 5N, which is an EV that pretends to be a combustion car that uses a gearbox that has fake gears in it, yet got incredible reviews. I mean, like, almost everybody that I know in the industry said the car was phenomenal, which is a really good sign that we can kind of combine the old and the new, and it can actually be convincing.
Yeah, I mean, if you could convincingly make a car feel like it's shifting, you know, and it's like just electric.
Like, worked with Hyundai a couple years ago, and I had no idea just how successful Hyundai was at racing. Their TCR class, they had won like 4 years in a row, and I had no idea. So Hyundai is getting a better reputation. It used to be the literal laughingstock of the car industry. It was the car company that if you didn't have a lot of money, but you just needed to get around. You're like, beggars can't be choosers. It was a cheap car. It got you around until it didn't anymore. But if you were to ask me about Hyundai today, Hyundai is almost like a machine learning AI that learns from its mistakes and then just gets better and better every single year. And feedback online, they listen to people. They take online feedback very seriously, it seems. So that's why we're here today.
Every successful company does. They listen to the feedback. That's how you fucking become successful.
Online feedback. Man, it's been a long journey since the Hyundai Tiburon, am I right? Man, that car like looked way cooler than it ever needed to be. I was always so disappointed how slow it was. I actually wanted one as my first car, believe it or not, because of Need for Speed Underground. How different of a life I would have had. So that's kind of a recap on the Hyundai brand. We're here to talk about...
There's a lot of cars I wanted because of Need for Speed Underground that aren't cool cars in actuality.
The Envision 74. A car that has...
The Envision 74 looks so good. It looks so good.
Been rumored to be greenlit again. Last year, it was rumored to be greenlit, but it seems much more promising nowadays. In fact, with even a goal of 2026 to deliver this car. And the Envision 74, when it was released as a concept, I think is the only time in maybe automotive history, at least in my lifetime, where I saw literally no negative feedback. Almost everybody adored this thing and how cool it was and how revolutionary it made their brand look.
Like, that looks so clean to me. Oh my God, I want it.
It was like, oh look, like we're going into the future with some cyberpunk styling, but it'll actually be kind of usable, unlike the Cybertruck, which has been revealed to be very janky. But the 74 in the name is actually a callback to a car way back in the day. A concept from 1974 called the Pony Coupe. And you immediately see the relation. And while I was working with the Hyundai race team and doing some of their stuff for their YouTube channel, I asked some of their staff point blank to their face if they were going to build this car. I'm like, you need to build this car. You need to, please. And it was a perfect kind of opportunity to talk about it because they were like, so David, like, what do you think of Hyundai in the past 5 years? I'm like, I think it's great. Veloster N's great. Elantra N's great. Are you gonna build that 74 though? And all I got in response was a smirk. And that's all I got. They were like, can't talk about it. Sorry, but they were smiling the whole time they were talking about it, or trying not to talk about it, I guess. I think as a PR move, releasing this car would be the biggest win of Hyundai's brand in like a decade.
I think
kind of think of it like the Ford Mustang GTD in a way. Woo. That car, even some of the most diehard bow tie people I know were like, all right, man, that thing is still pretty cool. Especially since the car is rear-wheel drive. A lot of people are like, oh, wow, it's really neat that it's rear-wheel drive, since the Elantra and the Veloster and those cars are front-wheel drive, so a lot of people don't give them a chance. So the Vision 74, in a way, I think I'm starting to think more of like the GTD of Hyundai.
The GTD is fucking sick.
But that's where the main problem kind of lies. Is that I don't think there's going to be a lot of them. So, in theory, let's say the 74 goes into production. I think it has a few...
like the Cybertruck?
...problems, unfortunately.
I don't know how much... I wonder how much this car will cost. Probably like 80,000, maybe 80, 90,000. I could be wrong. It could be a $60,000 car.
At least on the surface. And we're going to break them down right now. I think, number one... I don't think there's going to be too many of them. Or what made the Vision 74 so unique might not be a part of it either. So I do think if they do deliver on this car in 2026, it would be a huge, massive success to the brand's image, but I don't know about the car quite yet. And here's why. I think the power plant of this car is going to be the number one problem if they take the exact concept, philosophy, and bring it to production. It's just not practical. Even though it's a really neat idea and an engineering feat, it's just not practical. And to give you kind of a recap on how the Vision 74 concept worked, this is how it works. It has two electric motors in the back, which actually act as the car's differential, which is really neat, which then is powered by a 62.4 kilowatt battery pack, which is then powered by a hydrogen fuel cell, which
that's too
acts
much.
as a generator.
I don't think that's actually gonna happen. Nah, that's not actually gonna happen. If they do that, that's $100,000 car. That's like $100,000 car easily.
For the extra range, which gives the car a total of 670 horsepower. That's a lot. Does that sound practical for the average person who wants to go out and enjoy their sports car?
No. No, it's not an average person sports car. It's going to be a high-end sports car, for sure.
Really? For a limited one? Maybe. As like a toy? Maybe. But as somebody who wants to use it a lot? Definitely not. Which will then, in turn, make this car a collector item, which will rot in somebody's garage for years. And you and I don't want that. We want to see these things on the street, swagging down the road with their turbofan wheels, right?
Bro, I think they just need to make it a fucking V6. Yeah. Or like, what do you call it? A hybrid. If they make it a hybrid, that'd be more feasible. I ain't gonna lie to you.
I want to see the Vision 74s in the...
I think hybrids are really the future anyways. I don't think you could completely take out gasoline. And I don't think you should have only battery. I think hybrid is definitely the move.
Wild. I don't want to see it as some dude walking through their warehouse and going, yeah... this is the 74, 1 of 10, but like, I don't want that, man. I don't think you do either. Nobody want it to be the new DeLorean. I don't see it happening due to the hydrogen aspect. Hydrogen in the United States...
I don't think it's going to happen with the hydrogen aspect. I think it'll just be complete EV.
Anyway, for a car, is a monumental pain in the butt to get. It's kind of like when EVs were first starting to surface and you couldn't find a charging station. Yeah. So if you were stranded... you're out of luck. There is zero infrastructure. And as much as you and I want it to be a full combustion vehicle or even a hybrid system with a combustion motor, I don't think it's going to happen. For the design of it, it's just not very practical. I can definitely see this car being a 100% EV vehicle.
That's all I'm thinking, 100% EV. But I mean, I think a hybrid would be better.
For production, it'd be user-friendly and there's more infrastructure for it. Yeah, it makes more sense. And you could take all the lessons learned from the Ioniq 5N and bring it to a two-door sports car.
Yeah.
I'm open to that for sure. Absolutely. I think that'd be the perfect formula if you wanted to produce this more on the mass side of things than just like a limited edition. And you could absolutely get...
Like, if that comes out in 2 years, like if it's an EV and it's like 60 to 70,000, depending on like the model, whatever, like... I'll get that. I will get that. Give me 2 years. I'll start working for that now. If they fucking guarantee that it's gonna come out in 2 years, yeah.
670 horsepower out of an EV package.
Because like I want to get a Tesla, but like I got obviously I'm working on better employment at the current moment, but I do want to get a Tesla. That's I have a plan in action to do that.
Nowadays, the technology has definitely caught up for that. I originally had a theory that they would use something like the 6-cylinder turbo out of the Genesis G70, or maybe along the lines of the Kia Stinger. That engine has a ton of potential. I drove one that made like 450 horsepower, and it was a riot. It was a ton of fun.
That thing looks
But like
fast.
I said, it's more practical, probably production-wise, to just make it a 100% EV. It makes sense. Or, way out in left field, you put one of the old Genesis V8s in it. I mean, that would just be fun.
Yeah.
That's a fun theory. If this car goes hydrogen, I really don't think anybody would buy it.
No.
Even collectors would even kind of second guess it probably. Probably as a bragging right that it's a hydrogen powered sports car, and then it would really sit around. I really don't see it being used like at all. And I keep making this comparison over and over again. With the Ioniq 5N, it has been proven that if you're able to engineer a way to trick the human brain to enjoy an EV, similar, not 100%, but similar to a combustion vehicle with gearing and rev limiters and all that sort of thing, that is probably the best option. And the fact that their reviews were so phenomenally great for the Ioniq 5N, that is a great sign. Also, Hyundai, if you're watching, just a quick little, you know, if you want me to come drive the Envision 74, make a video on it, I would fly across the world for that. If you like my racing resume, please let me know. Just a thought. No matter the powertrain in this thing, I think the biggest loss of this car would be if they change the styling. Especially
they can't change the styling whatsoever. I don't care. They can't
nerf it or change it radically to not have the arrow on it or the turbofan style.
It's gotta have the wheels too. It has to have the wheels. It has to. It fucking has to have that exact same shape.
Wheels on it. If they just made it more of a normal-ish blocky car, I think it would lose a lot of its pizzazz per se.
It would.
I think it needs the arrow. I think it needs all the ducks and the gills and the DeLorean styling.
It needs all of
I think it needs all of that because you've brought an expectation to something. And then if you bring it out and it doesn't have the big wing on it and it doesn't have all that stuff, maybe if there was like a base model version, it's just like the normal everyday one, and then you had the in version, then I would understand, because then you could offer more trim packages, which in turn makes it easier to sell as a car for mass production. And then if people want the crazy one, they could get it. But if there's no option for the aero and the cool wheels and just the aesthetic of it, that is a disservice to this concept, I feel like. Maybe even more than the FT1, because at least the FT1 sort of looks like the Supra. Man, that would be so tragic if this thing just ended up being kind of a blocky silver thing, like the Cybertruck. You gotta keep those.
For real.
Those turbofan wheels, dog. What are you thinking taking those off? You gotta have those. But they need to keep this car feeling special. If they don't do that, they've really messed up. I think the engineering design and everything with the hydrogen plant is incredible. I think that's a ton of talent. That's incredible development. But for use of right now, it doesn't make really any sense. No. As much as hydrogen is great with its benefits, it also has a lot of drawbacks. And as of right now, don't think it's the right time for it.
I don't think
Hyundai is on the way to be a very cool car company. I think they're becoming a bigger and bigger contender in Asia, and just showing that South Korea is a main contender in the automotive space. I mean, compared to 20 years ago, wasn't even close. you're automatically going to Japan. But now there's more options out there.
Yeah.
And the Envision 74, I think, is a great example of imagination and letting engineers go wild. Makes your car company look good. It makes it look like you know how to have fun. And that's all I got to say about that. But what do you guys think about the Envision 74? Would love to hear it down in the comment section below. And on that note, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I appreciate every single one of you for stopping by. And I'll see you guys next time, and take it easy. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.
That's dope. Yeah, no, the Envision, I gotta have that shit one day.